Yes.
All right, good evening. It's 6:30. I call the meeting to order. Hello, everyone. Mauricio?
Okay. Commissioner Joseph.
Present.
Commissioner Stuyvesant. Here. Commissioner Viscaro.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lama.
Here.
Mayor Svechin.
Here.
All members present, ma'am.
Great. Wonderful. Okay, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. David, will you lead us in the pledge, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, do we have an invocation? Hello, Father.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, everybody else. Let's pray for this meeting. As we begin this meeting, Lord, our hearts are lifted to you in search of your eyes. Hear us, Lord. Give answers to our questions and help us in our concerns. You who are our God, in whom we trust. In this meeting, we put our fears and illusions in your hands. In your eyes, we place the purity and sincerity of our search. Guide us, O Lord, you who are good, and may your Holy Spirit help us at every step. May our mouth today be the expression of our interior, that our words spring from the depths and be true. Lord, give us a clean heart so that we can see. To you, we open the projects and plans of this meeting. Join us. To you, we offer what we are and what we have. Accept us. To you, who are the God of life, we ask for strength. Encourage us. May our hearts rejoice and exult today, for we expect all things from you. Bless this meeting, Lord, and guide it in the right way. Lord, as we gather in your name, we want to be in your presence. Grant us a spirit of dialogue. Illuminate our minds with the light of truth and strengthen our fraternal spirit, so that we may always seek and do your will. Teach us to always respond according to your vision and our mission in the world. Amen.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Mauricio?
Okay, Mayor, I'm going to respectfully request a deferral of the minutes, 3A and 3B.
Okay.
And then we'll go into the order of business.
That doesn't require
Excuse
a
me.
motion?
A motion, yes.
Yes,
So
please.
sorry.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Order of business.
Okay, the order of business, we have just a few additions that are carryovers from the workshop that we had earlier, plus an add-on discussion. The first one is a discussion regarding the prohibition of car carriers from parking in residential areas and on Collins Avenue. A discussion regarding reactivation of the Youth Advisory Committee. Review and discussion of the deadlines for submission of zoning applications, and AI use by state for audit of local governments.
Okay, and just for clarification, the first three items were carryovers. We usually have those during the workshop, but we ran out of time, so we added them to this meeting. And the last one is something that I actually wanted to add to our discussion items, but now it's being added here. If I have support, this is basically a discussion in response to something that Governor DeSantis just recently signed in order, which is, I think, a good discussion for us to have as we go into budget season, and whether we want to support something like what the state is doing, which is using AI or other methods to help find efficiencies. Are we all in agreement? Do I need a motion for all of them combined?
Yeah, all of one.
Yes.
Okay, okay, so all in favor? Okay.
Aye.
All right, so we'll do those first. All right, Mauricio, go ahead.
Okay, so the first one is a discussion regarding the prohibition of car carriers from parking in residential areas and on Collins Avenue. It's Commissioner Joseph.
Yes, thank you. So I've brought up this issue several times before. The problem has continued. We've had FedEx trucks on Collins, which we brought up to the county
Oh, wait,
since...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are taking public speakers for this, or we're not?
No, these are discussion items.
Okay, so we're not. Okay, please, go ahead.
Oh, we're not.
Just to clarify, go ahead.
All right. So in any event, we had county officials present at one time. We brought up to them regarding FedEx trucks, UPS trucks, and we asked that possibly they recommend that the FedEx and UPS trucks use smaller vehicles so that they could actually pull into the buildings. I don't know where that went, but that hasn't changed. We still have the large vehicles, but I believe they can still pull into the properties, and we should insist that they do that because we just have an accident waiting to happen. And as far as the car carriers, we have car carriers pulling into Golden Shores. We have them sitting on Collins, and all of these vehicles should be they should know to go to underneath the Lehman Causeway for their drivers to meet them there for their loading and unloading. And Mr. City Manager, is that something that you view as possible? And also regarding the fines, right now I believe code enforcement, when they show up, there's a $90 fine, which the carriers laugh at. As a matter of fact, they leave the vehicles. This one vehicle was left, and the person went to Navarro, either to the liquor store or to Navarro to buy some food, but he disappeared for over half an hour, and code enforcement was sitting there waiting. So we need to have our police attend to these issues rather than code enforcement with higher fines.
Just for clarification, Mr. City Manager, this has been a discussion for years, I think well before any of us were even sitting here. We don't have an official policy. So what has been done in the past historically, and what you so that we have a good discussion here, aren't just spinning our wheels.
Exactly. Thank you.
I can, Mayor, if I can address a couple things.
Sure.
Unfortunately, the city, we have looked at this. The city is heavily restricted as to what it can do with regards to the actual amount of fines that's dictated because...
Alan, can you speak more into the mic?
Yeah, I'm trying to accommodate Vanessa because I speak too loud and I don't want her to lose her hearing. The fines, because they're basically fined it's a parking violation. Let's put it that way. Initially, it's a parking violation. Those are regulated by the county, so we don't have the ability to raise those. With regards to police, under Chapter 316, they're actually allowed to, like the FedEx trucks and the UPS trucks and all, they're actually allowed to stop on Collins, believe it or not.
Yeah, 15 minutes, I think that was.
Yeah, and it's hard to gauge unless you have somebody there with a stopwatch. It's kind of hard to. So it happens all throughout Collins. It's not just here. It's in Golden Beach. It's in Hallandale, Hollywood. So PD is very limited as to what they can do. They can't really cite them as a moving violation or anything.
Well, this is the county, correct? That the county has some input into this, I was told?
Not under state law. For the police, they deal with the parking issue, the parking fines and so on and so forth. So that's where we're sort of limited by what the county fines are. It's like the towing rates, right?
No,
we can't set our own towing rates.
I mean, as far as the vehicles, they have some input with the carriers, with FedEx and UPS regarding the vehicles on Collins, correct? That's what I was told previously.
No, it's a state road.
So there's no county involvement regarding that? That's different than what I was told previously.
I will say that we have been proactively enforcing this for some time now. So
Yes.
A number of the calls that I've received, parking enforcement has already been out there. And since we spoke last week, I've asked the chief to increase police presence in the area, and he has.
Okay, now, can we have any policy regarding that? I mean, a policy that's actually on the books that's put out there, that they know they have to go underneath the Lehman? for the pickups and drop-offs?
Well, I think that they're aware of the parking issues, but even if we had a policy in place, I don't know that they would do what they're supposed to do without our enforcement. So from the enforcement perspective, I think we're being proactive. We can definitely do an education campaign to try to let them know where we could facilitate the car drop-off.
Okay. And how about a vehicle that's parked reverse on the opposite side of the road?
It depends on the road.
Well, 185th Street?
Right, if it's a divided highway with a line, it could be, we'd have to confer with PD, because they have more specifics on their 316, but typically, yeah, if that's the case, if it's a divided highway, they probably would be, but we'd have to check with PD.
Okay, so just to get it on the record, what is it that we're doing today, after today, that's different than what's occurred in the past?
Do you want to hear what everyone else has to?
Yes,
Yeah, let's get
please.
everyone's
Any
input.
other ideas?
Commissioner Viscara?
I don't have any
No?
comments.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I think we just need to find ways to mitigate the issue. It is a reality that we have, snowbirds, whatever you want to call it, that do have their cars delivered to them. So we had talked in the past about designating a couple of spots where they would need to make the delivery and have the owners meet them there. So I don't know if we could probably revisit that idea. I don't know what spaces within the city. I mean, our city's pretty saturated right now, but let's see if we could find a couple of spots where those deliveries can be made and have those trucks restricted to those areas.
The only place that I know of is underneath the Lehman.
I don't know. Well, I mean, we'll have to see
Commissioners, do you have
what's
some?
feasible.
Yeah, more enforcement, yeah, absolutely. It is an issue. Also, they can do the delivery in Hollover. They have a space there too.
Hollover, I believe, was actually years ago, that was when that was the intent to have them there. But I guess the question is, Mr. City Manager and to the attorney as well, we can make all the requests we want here, but how are you going to get them to do it? And is there any way to know if it's the same delivery trucks, the same delivery companies? Like, are we giving them citations? Are we keeping any records of that? Because it is a nuisance when they park, and it's dangerous, especially in Golden Shores.
Well, certainly, having a designated area is a good idea, obviously, if it's well communicated.
But do we have to leave then that area open for them?
Well, then if it's not available, they're going to do it where they want to do it. Yeah, I mean, you leaving it open is kind of a broad term, but
Right.
if you're going to say under, let's say, William Lehman, and there's cars parked there and they can't do it, there's no good ingress or egress, then that's not going to, you need a place that's got good ingress and egress. So that's always a good idea. I know, Mayor, you had suggested, to the extent we're dealing with condominiums, to deal with the condominiums themselves and saying your unit owners are causing this to occur. I don't know that we've found a way yet to actually issue a violation to the association, but it may be good to work with the associations to try to communicate to them that, hey, your residents are causing this problem in the city, it needs to stop. And maybe that's a conversation we need to have. I don't know if we've had those conversations.
It's not neighborly. Not nice. So if there's a way to do that, I think that that might be potentially a start. I don't know if like you said, if the fine is $90
No, they're laughing.
and you're not gonna,
Exactly.
how are you gonna
Not-
tow that? You
Right.
can't tow that. So is that the direction that everyone is comfortable with, reaching out to the condos? No,
Yeah, I'm
comment.
okay. I mean, my question is, okay, so how are we gonna know when these deliveries are made? I mean, the owner of that car that's being delivered doesn't notify us. I mean, how do we start?
No, it's when you catch them.
When you catch him, you let him know,
or we have an education campaign.
So if you know, I mean, and I don't know to what extent, what information's available from the bill of lading or whatever else that I don't even know that we have access to it if we stop someone. But certainly to the mayor's point, if we have repeat offenders of certain company that's
Yeah.
repeatedly doing it, we can engage that company into some conversations and see if can be some kind of resolution
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and then take it to the next level
Yeah.
if we can. But it's so difficult because
Or we send
PD.
them, sorry.
It's just, even though PD, there's only so much they can do. If you have police officers showing up every time that you're unloading a vehicle, after a while, it gets to be burdensome. So it's one of those things where to the managers.
Burdensome for who?
For
the
both,
car carrier?
But for the company too, that every
We
time
want
they
it to be
deliver.
burdensome for the car
So
carrier.
I think that's his
No,
point.
I'm talking about, right, for the carrier company. So every time I'm trying to provide a service to my customers, every time I provide that service, police show up. It's not great for business necessarily. So to the manager's point, I think a lot of it is through enforcement and presence.
Right.
But to your point, we don't always know when these are going to occur. So it's basically hit or miss.
Yeah. I mean, probably it'll be good to find out who are the companies, which are the companies that are doing the deliveries. I can't imagine there's more than 10, doing these car deliveries. It can't be too many. And then just send them a letter saying, we have a new ordinance, we have these areas where you're supposed to do the deliveries, and have those companies communicate that to the owner of the vehicle once they have, the request.
And we can look into, again, this idea of a designated area. Although you can't necessarily, and I'm just thinking out loud and I shouldn't do that, but we can't cite them under state law because they're allowed to be there. You can give them a parking citation, but the amount is low. Perhaps if we do, and we can look into it, I'm not committing to it, but if we do an ordinance saying you have to drop these off in a designated area here in the city, perhaps we can have a more augmented violation of that ordinance, since it's completely different. It's not a parking violation. It's not a state violation. It's a violation of our ordinance because you didn't go to the proper place. So we
Okay.
could try to look into that. I
So-
can't commit to it, but we can
Yeah.
look into it.
So let's try to possibly arrange something for next month.
Well,
I think that there's
we'll s-
consensus for you all to look to see what are the possibilities, because this is not going away, and it's
No.
been a conversation for years.
What about under
you.
nuisance?
Nuisance is more difficult because you have to prove your case there. So, and it would have to be, one incidence wouldn't necessarily, you'd have to build a case against the, potentially if you have, let's say, the same carrier, you could try, but the problem is what they're technically doing is legal. So it's hard to go in front.
Yeah, but it's still annoying, right?
It is, but if you're abiding by the law.
But they're parking in
Like a party-
in
a
front of
party
no
is legal,
no
but it's still a
stopping
nuisance.
zones.
But okay.
Right, but again, under state law, there's only certain places that they can or cannot stop, and that's not one of the places necessarily. So PD's aware of the areas that they can or cannot, but they also know those areas. So we can certainly look at it and see if we can come up with something, but
Yeah.
it is a challenge.
Because the
Okay.
thing is, it's gone on, and, we're just kicking the can down the road, and I believe it's time to finally address it. So I thank you for, let's try to do something for next month.
Can't promise next month, but we'll try.
Okay, thank you. Next item, 3E, Commissioner Stuyvesant.
Title says, we haven't had the committees for the last few years active, and there is one committee that I would like to reactive, and it's the Youth Committee. That's it.
Comments, questions? Vice Mayor,
I agree. I mean, yeah. I'm
Commissioner
for it.
Vizcarra?
Yes, but, when we tried it the first time, we had a problem with,
Scheduling.
yeah, well, it was a different problem, and then it didn't take. And then the second time, like they couldn't, like we've tried, right? I agree with the concept, It was actually something I proposed that then later Commissioner Stuyvesant put on the agenda. Not that I proposed it, I brought it up as a discussion item. So obviously I support the idea, but we have to, well, whatever, we're at the end of the school year, so I guess for the next school year. I mean, it's worth considering, but I also think that this should be a broader discussion, because that our committee game is dead right now.
Yeah.
And so maybe this needs to be also part of a broader discussion, but in terms of this advocacy, yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be a committee, so they're not like subject to sunshine. It can be a club, advocacy, something, whatever,
Well-
just to bring it back and include the youth into local government.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you what is a good platform that we didn't have before, and that's the spot. So we have the teen talks. I don't know how successful they are, but at least even the space, right? Like maybe them coming in and sitting in the first floor room was not very
No, it has to be a
conducive
commitment.
to, but maybe we should try and take advantage of the fact that now we have a teen designated space. Maybe there's been we can work on changing that culture. And there is, I know it sounds weird, but there is an appetite if you know how to sell it, right? Like yesterday, was it yesterday that we had the school thing, the career day?
Yeah.
You know, I was very surprised by if you know how to deliver it, the teenagers can engage. Not everybody, right? Some of them really just want to talk about something else, but there is that segment. So for the purpose of government and civics and all of that, why not start earlier, right? We've been making the push in adults, so we can try high schoolers.
Mr. Joseph?
So my experience with the advisory board for the teenagers was that we had very low attendance. We had, the boys did not take it seriously, unfortunately. The girls took it more seriously. And I think that, unfortunately, it ended up being a waste of time the two times that we tried it.
I gotta say that I really would like to see it come back in the way that Commissioner Stuyvesant just mentioned, not as a sunshine. I think that held them back to, trying to sell it. This is not the way that they operate, and
They didn't understand it. It's-
prohibited them
yeah.
from doing anything, and it made it so that it made it almost impossible for them to take it seriously, because they didn't understand what was our problem.
Right,
Like, why do we keep
exactly.
making it difficult for them? So if there's a way to support some sort of official team club that has a mission, and maybe the mission has to be clear. Your mission is not just to hang out and get free pizza, but we were looking for you to be the future leaders, but use the space, and you are the bosses of the space.
I will bring back some in the next.
You make it a little more fluid, more flexible.
Yeah, but also it has
like
to be a
forum.
commitment, because when there is commitment for them, also they own it,
Yeah.
So that we are going to bring them to, I don't know, to the Florida League of Cities. They're going to be in the competition for the youth, something like that. Like they need to be aiming at something.
Yeah.
So I'm going to prepare something.
At minimum, I think,
Well, that's
just,
something
hold
I
on,
believe-
Jerry, offering community service hours.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, that's-
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But for something for Alan to fashion the goal, right? Or Stan, the goal, but then to run it through council
okay.
as far as how it would operate.
All right, you've got
Mayor,
the support.
Can I just chime in really quickly?
Yes.
Just because it was mentioned a couple times, and the city attorney can also chime in on this. We have to be careful with the sunshine, because it doesn't matter what it's called. If at any point the group of teenagers will make any sort of recommendation to the commission as far as programs or events to offer, that still falls within the sunshine. So.
Right.
Can we
it's-
kind of figure that out? Because maybe, I think that if it doesn't have to be necessarily anyone could come and make a recommendation to us, right?
But
They
if
can make
it's-
a request.
But if it's being formed at the direction of the commission, then that is something different.
So as
So
soon as you
I
use
think
the
there's
word
a fine line
advisory-
that we need to talk out and try to figure out.
Okay, yes.
All
right, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
So
Okay.
also the title, with advisory, it wouldn't be acceptable.
But what he's saying
If
is
you're looking to
it doesn't matter
exclude
what you call it, it
sunshine.
matters the function.
Right, exactly.
So,
So maybe that's,
but, you know, well, we'll figure it out, but
Okay.
maybe, what if it was like a junior academy? Or something that's more, you know, something like that, where we go through similar processes, but in a similar package. And then if they're inspired, they can come forward, but we wouldn't be advising them to.
okay, next item, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, so this one, I wanted to have this discussion because we've had repeated occasions where we are in a situation where there's an application for either, you know, a building permit or an easement or what have you, and we are giving the information like a day or two before we're supposed to approve this, the commission meeting. And then it puts staff, because they get it late as well, whether, you know, there's an application and there is a change or there's some back and forth, and we're sitting there waiting for this information, and then we're put in a precarious situation where, you know, we have to review a lot of information in a matter of, let's say, 24 hours. So, you know, going back to the actual, the code and the procedures, and I'm going to read some of this from our code. You know, the applicant is supposed to submit the you know, planning and zoning to staff 5 days. Okay, applicant submits the planning and zoning to staff, and staff has 5 days to request corrections, right? My first question is it 5 business days or calendar days? Are all these days business or calendar?
It's usually business.
Yeah.
It's from the code, and it's also pursuant to state statute. We'd have to check to see. I don't, off the top of my head, it's probably business days, but
It's probably business
I couldn't
days,
be sure
okay.
for that. Typically, for that short amount of time, it's business days.
It's business
When you're
days,
talking about
okay.
30 days, 40 days, 50 days, that's typically calendar.
Okay. And then once that is complete, reviewers have 14 days for comments. Then, after that, the applicant has 90 days to amend. Staff reviews changes within 21 days. Then we get to the part where the public hearing and the notice comes into play, right? So basically, this needs to be noticed to people 300 feet around the subject property, okay? And it says property is posted with hearing details on a sign 10 days before the hearing. So right there, the amount of time that we have and staff has is getting shortened. Let's say it's 10 business days, that is 14 calendar days for us to review that. The issue I have is that a lot of times, right, we get the agenda review, let's say 4 or 5 days before, no, less than that. We get it on a Friday, and on a Thursday, we have the commission meeting. And then the Tuesday, 2 days before, we have the agenda review meeting. So I'm just trying to state that I think we should hold these applicants accountable to these timelines, because it puts staff at a very precarious situation, and then they have to review it, and then they pass it on to us, because obviously they need to check that everything's okay. So we're getting this information, tons of information, 2-3 days before, or even less, before we're supposed to approve something very serious. So I think we should be strict about how we accept these, and if they don't turn them in on time, then they need to be notified that it's gonna have to wait until the next month.
So I have a question, so that I understand, because I think I understand what you're saying, but is this something that's chronic, Mr. City Manager?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and what happens typically, we adhere to the deadlines very strictly. But then inevitably, if we give comments, because the developers are under a timeline, they're submitting comments to us right away, trying to get their plan in conformance with zoning before it actually gets presented to you. So in the most recent case, it's happened very similar to what the vice mayor was stating. We were working on the plan up until the day of the meeting. So
Right.
what happens is, Where I think there needs to be some assistance is if the developers are calling you, pressing for it to move forward, we need to really push it to the next month if we don't have all of the information we need. But what happens is on these multi-story projects, the comments that they get back from zoning could be as high as 100, that they now have to go in and correct all of those plans. You're talking about 100 different changes. So time is money. But we agree, and we have established deadlines, and we will adhere to those strictly.
Yeah, I don't think there's any opposition from the
And
commission.
the only caveat to that is that, again, the timelines are heavily dictated by state law. And there, I don't have it in front of me, but we also have to keep very close eye on the clock because I believe it's once a development application is deemed ready to be voted upon, it has to be done within a certain amount of time, otherwise it's deemed accepted. So it's deemed approved. So we just have to be careful that we follow those guidelines.
Are you referring to new Florida statutes?
No, it's been
about
on,
approval?
it's been on the books for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I don't think there's any opposition to that.
I would add, though, in this general, I just sent you guys an email in between meetings, that, yes, we have the Tuesday meetings, but the Tuesday meetings don't include zoning, because we can't, because it's a quasi-judicial. And so, I asked that we get offered, instead of us asking, that we get scheduled in advance, because, to your point, we don't even know it's on the agenda until the Friday. But staff is more like, if it's, you'll know at least a week earlier if it's gonna be on, right? So
Yeah.
I've asked that we get scheduled for individual meetings even before we get the agenda, so we can plan ahead and also have more time to what, even make our own inquiries or whatever, because we plan for Tuesday. Sometimes you're busy, you may not think to schedule your own individual, and then you're not as prepared as you should be.
Yeah,
So.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that suggestion.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, the last discussion item is an add-on. This is mine. In the last 2 days, I believe, the governor signed an order creating a state DOGE department in an effort to, I guess for lack of a better word, use AI to find efficiencies, and he's encouraging municipalities to start looking at what they're doing, and because we're about to go into budget season, I'm not recommending that we create a DOGE department. What I'm saying is that perhaps we should have that same sort of mentality in our process and really look at what the governor has done and potentially look at AI as a tool that we probably haven't looked at before, because it's moving so fast that literally every day something new is coming up. So I wanted to get feedback from you all as to how you feel about that.
Well, for me, if we can find it useful, then I would say go for it. We have to just see to what degree it helps us rather than hurts us.
Well, what I'm thinking with this is to look at his order, and again, I just put this on here, so we can each look at it individually, but to have staff look at it and to see how they can implement it in the budget process, so that we are not, we all know that book is this thick, and so there must be a better way to go through it so that we're not trying to go line by line individually, and have staff give us some additional tools in order for us to do this in a more effective way.
So I have some questions. So the state wants to use AI to audit municipalities?
No.
That's what I'm
No,
trying to
wait, that could
understand.
change. That actually, wait.
No, that's what it says
It,
here.
it can. So they believe that
In the future,
they may.
that could
They
happen.
may. What they're starting with right now is at a state level to look at where they can find efficiencies using AI, because they believe, which is probably accurate, that there's ways to save some money. And so right now, from my understanding, is they would like municipalities to start doing this as well. I feel like there's a somewhat of a, I wouldn't say a threat, but there's an implication that if you don't they'll sort of do it for you.
For-
So I'd like to get
before
ahead
it's
of it.
imposed on us.
Right, I'd like to get ahead of it so that we can create our own.
Yeah, so I'm all for implementing technology and new ways of doing things. Like, for instance, we just had the auditor here
Uh-huh.
present to us, and they went through the audit and everything. So my first step would be to talk to our vendors, right? And say, hey, are you implementing any AI tools
Right.
that you could obviously use when you're auditing us and start trying to find, ways where we could save? I'm a little bit weary of having the state saying, okay, we're gonna audit you, because I don't know how they're gonna interpret that information. I don't know what they're gonna do with that, and it kind of takes away from home rule. They might have the best of intentions, but if they have the wrong interpretation, then, we are at a impasse, and then we could be in trouble. And I just feel like it's a little bit prying into our business a little bit too much.
I agree with you 100%. That's why I want to get in front of it so that we're not in a position where and I don't know how this is going to work out at the state level. He just signed the order. So this is
Yeah, I
more
need to
of a
understand that a little bit
concept
better.
of
Yeah.
when we're looking at our budget going into the new fiscal
They
year.
were very careful in,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
they were very careful in drafting it to say that they're only going to use publicly available information.
Yeah.
Right.
To your point. So they're
Right.
not going to come digging through our books to the extent but the thing is, pretty much everything's public. Right.
Well, there are some cities that are more DEI than we are, so, they're looking for certain things
But that's what I'm trying to
that
get at.
some
It's
cities
like,
may be less involved with than others.
there's also a sense of respecting our independence as a municipality too. Obviously we're part of the state, but there's a sense of also, we're the local government, we work together, but I don't like when somebody's imposing something
Well,
on
if
me.
the state had their way, there
At
would
a
be no
personal
home
and
rule.
at a
Right,
business
but
level.
this is more, this isn't necessarily just for the audit purposes. I'll give you an example. This is the way that I'm envisioning it. Suppose we have questions during the budget process of why do we have, 5 people working the parks? Is there a more efficient way of doing it? And rather than thinking about it as what our feeling is, which we often get into that discussion of I feel that we should have more, I feel we should have
Right.
less, we start looking at tools that could potentially help answer those questions in a data-driven
Mhm.
way.
What I'm
Not-
just
I'm
trying
not
to say
suggesting
is for
that
us to lead that
Us to
effort,
lead us,
not the
absolutely.
state
No,
to say,
no,
oh,
no,
you're gonna
no.
use this vendor,
No,
and then
no,
we're gonna
for
take this
us.
information and give you our findings and our recommendations, and
Right.
if you don't take our recommendations, you're not gonna get any grants.
So
This
the
is
that
AI
type of
takes the
situation.
emotion out of it.
Taking the emotion, but it's also more conceptual, that the staff would
Right.
be tasked with understanding that this is where we're coming from. We're looking for efficiencies.
So it's a double-edged sword, so we'll
Oh,
see how it
I guess
goes.
everything-
Well, if we feel that we are doing everything right, and our finance and audit process was good, what I understood from the governor's press conference is that he's looking for municipalities to volunteer to be part of this. So for them to come and audit, like Alan was saying, with all the public information. So I don't see also anything wrong with it. Again, it's public information. If they want to do it, they're going to find a way to do it anyway. So I am a big fan of Dodge, so at the national level. So I would love to see it at every level.
Okay. Do we have consensus?
I'm a no.
You're a no? Okay.
For the record, I'll tell you why, and before we all go down the AI rabbit, well, I'm just distrustful of what I don't understand, okay? So I'm not a technology person, but I can tell you, I'll just give you an example, because AI is creeping into everything, right, including the law. So I'll give you an example of what happened in a case that's discussed in our AI training. It's happened to a couple of lawyers where they ask AI, I need a case proving this point. And what they said was, AI is like it's like a Labrador that wants to please you. And so it gave you this case. It proved everything you wanted proven. So the lawyer went to court, with the thing, And opposing counsel, of course, said, well, I never heard of this. And,
It was
and,
fake.
and it
Yeah,
just
made it up.
generated, you asked AI what you wanted, and it gave it to you. Like, it was happy to make you happy. So the judge told the guy, go confirm this. So the lawyer goes back to his office and he asks AI, is this true? And the Labrador that wants to please said what? Yes. And then the lawyer got sanctioned because it was false. So we have to be very careful, because even with the best of intentions, what you get back, if you ask it, are we being wasteful? What are you gonna get? Yes, right?
Yeah.
And if you say, are we the greatest thing since sliced bread? What is it gonna tell you? You're fantastic. So be careful.
I agree with you.
And that's why I think, let it play out, because I don't think we're there yet.
And I don't think that we should all of a sudden change all of our policies and use this exclusively. And I'll tell you that I agree with you. My oldest, who's studying IT, when I asked him about AI in general, he said to me, it's all fake. It lies to you. It tells you what you want to hear. And I've tried a few things to test it, and it told me incorrect information. I wrote back saying, you're wrong. And it writes back, you're right. I was wrong. So I'm not saying it at that level. It's more of a conceptual level of, let's see what we can find. And right now, I don't think we're voting on anything. This is just to explore this. That's what I'm looking for in consensus, is to
I'm
explore
against
it.
exploring it because I don't think it's trustworthy.
Okay.
Well, the word verify has to be in a larger font.
And it's gonna tell you yes. And it's so I don't think we're there yet. I don't think that technology is there yet. And I'm hesitant to then get pointed in the wrong direction by something very official sounding, because it'll give you statistics, it'll give you case law, and it'll tell you that case law is real,
Right.
right? So I just don't think we're there yet, and I think we need to let it play out. We are on award-winning budget. We are transparent, and a lot of these policies actually, this is FLC stuff, they come from legislators who have never served in local government. And so they don't understand sunshine law, for example, because they've never had to deal with it. So they work from assumptions that all worlds are like theirs. And they're not. And they don't understand that our budget, it has multiple readings, and it's in public, and it invites public input, because not all places are like that. So I think we're already working under the mentality of tightening our belt and being efficient. We've never had a problem. I understand you're trying to get ahead of something, but I don't think this is the time. I don't think that the technology is at a place where we can hand it over problems and that we can trust what it tells us.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
I mean, I'm all for exploring it. I think it needs to be led and controlled by us. We will need to speak to our vendor, to the auditor, see what technologies they are implementing or working with. And, in the spirit of collaboration, yeah, we could work with the state, but, what I want to avoid is the state imposing anything on us, because this has been a theme about home rule where they don't understand certain nuances and the workings and inner workings of local municipalities, especially in South Florida. So, yeah, I'm all for it, but it needs to be led and controlled by us. Obviously, we'll hire a third party, an auditor, to kind of give us that information and consult us with us. So, but yeah, I'm a little bit apprehensive about what the state is trying to do. But yeah, I'm all for it, but it needs to be our own thing.
We need to really speak with the company that did our audit, and also Tiffany. We can take Tiffany's advice as well as to what she thinks AI can do or not do
And IT.
at this point, and IT also.
All right, so we have a consensus that we're going to explore it.
Well, I'm not looking for it to cost us another consultant's fee.
I'm not looking for that either. The exploration, I think that
Yes.
staff can explore that. And it's just a good conversation for us to have.
Correct.
So-
And like anything else, AI is in its infancy, and it's going to change so much, just like computer chips change, they hold back on computer chips. So,
Right.
everything changes every 6 months, so this is just in its infancy, and it may not be ready for what's being imposed upon us, or may be imposed upon us.
Well, okay, thank you. All right, now we're going to, Mauricio.
We're into ordinances for second reading.
Okay.
Okay. We didn't play the opening
Of the
statement.
opening statement, yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate your attendance and thank you for joining us tonight. Before we begin, there are a few important reminders regarding conduct during our commission meetings. Please ensure all electronic devices are turned off or set to silent mode to maintain the integrity of our proceedings. Mutual respect is the foundation of productive discussions. We ask that everyone remain silent and attentive when someone is addressing the commission. Clapping, applauding, heckling, or any verbal outbursts, either in support or opposition of the speaker, are strictly prohibited. Any individual wishing to address the commission must fill out a public speaker's card and submit it to the city clerk before the relevant item is announced. Each speaker is granted a maximum of 3 minutes. Should you exceed this time, the chair will notify you to conclude your remarks. Speak directly to the agenda's points. Remain concise, and avoid redundancy. Should an individual speak without the chair's permission or continue speaking after a warning, they may be escorted out of the chambers. It is essential to avoid making impertinent, slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the commission. Such behavior may lead to being barred from future commission appearances, unless the majority of the commission members present vote otherwise. The presiding officer may disallow signs or placards in the commission chamber. Please exit the chamber quietly and without disruption. The goal of our meetings is to facilitate public input and participation. However, disruptive or disorderly conduct hinders our collective objective. Individuals who want to speak on an item on the agenda are asked to fill out a public speaker's card and give it to the city clerk before the item is called. Speakers are asked to speak to the issues, make comments concise and to the point, and refrain from making duplicate comments. All speakers will be limited to 1 3-minute comment per item. If you exceed the 3-minute allotment, the chair will advise you to finish your comment. If you speak out of turn without permission from the chair and/or you do not cease speaking after one warning, you will be escorted out of chambers. In order to maintain orderly conduct and/or proper decorum at these meetings, anyone who interferes with the orderly process of the meetings after a warning may be removed from the meeting and may be barred from further appearance before the City Commission, as permitted in S-286, 0114, FS and SS 74-5 and 74-21 of the City's Code of Ordinances. Any necessary removal will be made at the direction of the mayor and will be carried out by law enforcement or designated sergeant at arms. It is essential that attendees adhere to these rules of procedure to ensure productive meetings that serve both the public and the City Commission. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding.
Great, thank you. So just for those in the audience, that you understand, this is where we go into our more formal portion of the meeting. This is where we have our regular commission meeting. The other items were our discussion items that we have at the workshop. So I see there's people in the audience, and if you haven't filled out a public speaker's card, please go ahead and do that now. Even if you decide that you do not want to speak, you can always just say, I changed my mind, or I waive my time in support or against. Okay, so with that, Mauricio?
Item 8A is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, amending ordinance number 2024-618, approving budget amendment number BA 2425-03 to the city's operating and capital improvement budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, authorizing the city manager to do all things necessary to implement the terms and conditions of this ordinance, providing for an effective date.
This is the second reading.
This is
Mr.
the
City
second
Manager?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this is a second reading of our budget amendment, and it provides for various things, including fund balance, carryovers, and purchase order carryovers for the prior year.
Okay. Do we have any public speakers, Mauricio?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll take comments or questions from the commission. Commissioner Viscara, Vice Mayor?
No.
I'll take a motion, please.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
Mauricio?
Commissioner Joseph,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lama,
Yes.
Commissioner Stuyvesant, Commissioner Viscara,
Yes.
Mayor Svechen.
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted 5-0.
All right, now move to resolutions, please.
9A is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of San Diego Beach, Florida, authorizing the Chief of Police in accordance with the Comprehensive Crime Control Act of 1984, to expend forfeiture funds from the Department of Justice Federal Forfeiture Account to fund a full-time school resource sergeant position.
Thank you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this allows for us to expend Department of Justice forfeiture funds to pay for our school resource officer.
Great. Do we have any public speakers?
No, ma'am.
Okay, do I have any questions from the commission? I just wanted to get some, to make a clarifying statement, because I did receive a few calls from residents regarding this, and I had asked the deputy manager for more information, because it seemed to, the question was, why is this such a large number for one officer? And I wanted to impress on everyone that, first of all, we would like to be the best city out there as far as compensating our PD who put their lives on the line every day, but so that people understand that when we are adding to staff, and especially since when we always are trying to add more PD, it has this kind of cost associated with it. It's not just a salary. And I believe, if I'm correct, about 35% of that number is benefits, overtime, and the like. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you. All right, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item.
9B is a resolution approving a second amendment to the agreement with Martin and Sons Residential Services for pressure cleaning services.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this approves a second amendment, with Martin and Sons. They are the company that does pressure cleaning throughout the city. And this allows for 2 pressure cleanings per year.
Great. Do we have any public speakers?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have comments or questions from the commission? I'll take a motion, please.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, please.
9C is a resolution approving a first amendment to the agreement with Exquisite Catering by Robert Inc.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this is for our city anniversary event. We put this out to bid. We received 2 bids, and we are recommending to enter into an agreement with Exquisite Catering by Robert.
Mr. City Clerk, any public speakers?
No, ma'am.
Any questions from the commission? No. I'll take a motion, please.
The bid was last year, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we didn't bid for this year.
No.
Okay, and I believe the price is really high, and only the food is gonna be $73,000. How much are we expecting is gonna be the total for the city anniversary this year?
I believe the city commission budgeted about $300,000 for that
Yeah,
one event.
$300,000 for one evening party, I think is way too much, talking about Dodge. So, no, I'm not in favor of this. And without bidding, no.
Okay. Take a
Well, aren't we a little late in the year, since
we,
the anniversary is,
in a couple of
what,
months.
June 1st?
June 29th.
29th?
29.
June 29th?
June 29.
When we went out to bid, we only received 2 bids, and the other one was $298,000 versus $99,000 for exquisite, and the bid was for a multi-year contract.
Okay, and just for clarification, for those that are watching or in the audience, we had talked about it during our agenda review, that it was, about $24 per person?
Correct.
Assuming that it's going to be 3,000 people, adjusted if it's going to be less, and that everyone got an entire full meal, not little appetizers. Am I right?
Correct. And it's cooking on site. That was asked by Vice Mayor Lama. It's cooking on site, hot food, fresh,
Right.
just like last year.
Okay.
Another comment about what happened last year is that we didn't have no seating. People were actually fighting. They had to call the police. I saw it because the people were sitting down. They were not getting out, and we don't have no place to sit down. So we could make such a nice beach party and give people hamburgers and kosher hot dogs, one of the above. It will be a lot less money, and I think there is so much waste in here. We don't have to be a full big meal, 3 course, 4 or 5. Again, we are not expecting that when you go to a beach party. If they give you a hamburger or a hot dog, especially when it's free, everybody's going to be happy from
But
it.
I believe that
So-
that is the options. It's a hot dog and hamburger or chicken.
And also beans and salad, etc., etc., etc. So there is the menu is there in the proposal, and that is also to my point that maybe this year we should have go out to bid again. Maybe other companies that I know of different companies that they've been registering with the city lately. So and probably they were not receiving the bids before. So this was a perfect case to go out and bid and find something more efficient. Yeah.
Okay.
But didn't we have a multi-year contract?
We did,
Is that
yes.
what you said? So that we don't go out to bid
We-
if
we-
you have a contract?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
It was a 1 year with multi-year renewals, which is how it went out to
But it
bid.
still went out to bid, and when it went out to bid and we had the 2 responses,
Correct,
that was last year or this year?
last year.
Last year.
January last year.
It didn't go out to bid this year.
Correct.
Bidding is a long, arduous process. So it's not always efficient to do it that frequently.
Okay.
But then, we sometimes get stuck with a vendor.
Well, this is an amendment, so when you enter into an agreement, you have usually multi-year. So part of the advantage in doing that is you get better pricing. So if you go out to bid for only 1 year, a lot of companies are not, they want some commitment or some kind of assurance that if they do well, they're gonna have an opportunity to do it again the year after. And pricing comes into play there.
But there is no expectation that it's going to be approved. That's what is an
No,
amendment.
there's, right.
Otherwise, it will be a 3, 4, 5-year contract. This is a year-by-year contract,
But that's-
knowing that things change.
No, correct, it's at the city's option, but it's still something that is put in the bid. If you do bids for all your contracts every year, it's not sustainable, you won't be able to do it.
Look, we just got awards for having the best procurement department, so I
Correct.
got to trust the process. And I think that, to Commissioner Stuyvesant's point, next year, if we can obviously go out to bid again and see what kind of options we have, because there are probably other vendors that may be interested, or we may find that this is
Maybe not.
probably the cheapest thing that we can get for what we get, which is a nice compromise, because I know that many people wanted to have the hot dogs and hamburgers and chicken. Not my personal favorite, but that's neither here nor there. It gives the most people the most food, and most of them like that. So.
And I put this event, it is pricey for a day, but to me, it's like the holiday lights.
Mm-hmm.
Could we put up half the lights? Could we slash that to half the budget? We could. Do we really gain anything, tangible from having nice holiday lights? No, it's a nice feeling, right? It's a nice experience. And I think of all our events, the city's birthday is for sure, for me, it's the one that I get the most positive feedback on.
Agree.
But it's a larger scale, and it's, it has the concerts, and, I know this is just a catering part, but it's, it's nice. It's a nice way to give something back to the community. It is their money. It is their party. They wanted their fireworks, so we found a way to accommodate, those things. We could all just, sit home and eat whatever, rice and beans every day, but we don't, right? Sometimes we go out to restaurants, so it's kind of like the same thing here. I'm okay with
All
it.
right, let's do, I think that the staff has directions for next year, so I'll take a motion.
Good. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Stevenson, you want to be on the record as no? No. Okay, thank you.
9D is a resolution rescinding resolution number 2025-3778, ratifying the expenditure of budgeted funds with Love Power Equipment for the purchase of 7 UTVs for the Police Department, the Ocean Rescue Division, and the Code Compliance Division.
Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, you had previously approved purchasing 6 UTVs. We were notified by the vendor that they could no longer supply the UTVs. Therefore, we got in contact with a different vendor, and it was determined that Code also has a vehicle that is not worth replacing. So this is rescinding the original resolution and ratifying the approval for 7 UTVs. 5 for Ocean Rescue, 1 for Police, and 1 for Code.
Okay, do we have public speakers?
No, ma'am.
Questions or comments from the commission? Take a motion, please.
I have one
Please,
question.
go ahead.
So all of these vehicles, they operate on the sand, correct?
For most of them,
The
yes.
beach? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so, and the operators, they've all had training regarding the safety of beachgoers, people that are lounging on the sand, as to, to watch that no one gets run over, like has occurred in some other cities?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item, please.
9E is a resolution awarding invitation to bid number 2501012 and approving an agreement with Waypoint Contracting to provide construction renovation services for the annex building located at 18050 Collins Avenue.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, this is a contract for an agreement with Waypoint Contracting to provide renovation to the annex that will eventually house the building department. Earlier this week, the deputy city manager and I met with Crema, who is going to be leasing the space, so we can finalize coordination to get the project done as soon as possible. And
Are
this
there-
was through a competitive bid.
Thank you. Mr. City Clerk, do we have any
No,
public
ma'am.
speakers? Questions from the commission?
Presentation.
Please, then go ahead.
Okay, you guys have a copy there. So I'm going to take you a little bit in memory lane. So this is start July 21, 2022, when the city staff brought us a proposal for a lease with a construction company. And it reads, city staff is in the process of issuing a request for proposal for the long-term rental of this space as a restaurant. To generate revenue for the city, this process is expected to take no less than 3 months. Next. Okay, next, thank you. Then on September 15, 2022, we got the first amendment, again with the same kind of clarification that the city staff is in the process of issuing a request for proposal for the long-term rental of this space as a restaurant. Next. In December 15, 2022, we had a recommendation to reject all the proposals. And it says, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, rejecting all proposals received for request number blah, 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 authorizing the re-advertisement of the request for proposal. Actually, Section 2 says re-advertisement of the RFP. The city manager or designee is hereby directed to issue and re-advertise the request for proposals for restaurant lease and operations services at 18050. That was December 2022. Okay. Then in January 19, 2023, we had a second amendment. Next. Mauricio?
Yeah.
Thank you. We had a second amendment with the same conditions that we are looking to rent the space, the same in the following July 20, 2023. One thing that I wanted to bring to your attention that we never, I think, at least I never got that information, is that when we reject the proposals of the restaurants, one of them was willing to invest $3.5 million building the restaurant. And they were expecting to have, to pay us annual incomes of around $420,000 from the first year. $240,000 in rent, and the rest as a 3% of the revenue of the restaurant, okay? So again, they were willing to spend $3.5 million for a contract of 10 years. In the next 10 years, everything that they build will belong to the city, or clearly to the restaurant, to the location, and they were expecting to make a lucrative revenue from it. Then in the, then in July 20, 2023, we had a third amendment to continue leasing the space to the company. In the following page, which is about the 2025 budget, if you guys remember, it was put there $2 million as a reappropriated fund balance for the construction of the city annex. However, I know it's very small, but in the top of the page, if you see in your copy, I've been requesting this information. I haven't got it yet. Like the point that you guys were saying, we only got the agenda on Friday, so I make this request Monday and Tuesday. So probably finance didn't have the time to prepare this, but it is very interesting that we went from $7.3 million of restricted fund balance in the building department in 2022 to 2023, and it went down to less than $1 million for the next year. I am still requesting the information how we went from 7.3 million to less than 1 million in one fiscal year. So I think we should see these details to make this decision, okay? So the last thing that I want to tell you, I put more information there, is that we need to be a little bit conscious that the only way that we are going to be paying in the future all the expenses of the building department is with permit fees. That's it for the presentation. Okay, is with the permit fees. So it means that the more the building department is going to be spending when anybody comes because they need to change a toilet or they want to redo their kitchen or whatever, we had to pay all the expenses of the building department with permit fees. So I'm really humbly requesting you guys to take a little bit more of time to reconsider this. And right now I think we have an opportunity because we were made aware that the lease or the contract with the library is about to expire. So I wanted for you guys to maybe consider switching and putting, continue with the Crema restaurant, and putting the library in the Tony Roma's location, a state-of-the-art library, like a kind of like a Barnes & Noble with Crema, in a prime location, and keeping everything government-related in this building. Meaning that the first floor, now we can, the manager and the team can redesign to move there, the building department, code enforcement, whoever is, they need to move. That way, for example, we know that we need to create a new entrance for the library in this building. And a lot of things that they are changing. So again, if we can move the library outside and keep all building government offices here in this building, we can redo the first floor. And as in the last page that you guys have there, as a little bit of also information, the library in Aventura cost around $15 million. And the funding came from $6.9 million from the Miami-Dade taxing district, $5.6 million from the county's capital asset acquisition bond, and $2.5 million from the Building Better Communities bond program. So $50 million was given to them also for a prime location in Aventura Mall, and they have a beautiful library, so we could do the same and at least take it in consideration. This is nothing to do with the Crema restaurant, like I know we have a lease agreement with them, et cetera, and they're gonna start very soon, whatever they need to be doing. But I think we have an opportunity to lesser the costs and the expenses of the building department and keep everything in-house.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, if you can just clarify, because that's a lot of information that we just got, so thank you, Commissioner Stevenson. I'm not understanding how we're, the relation, basically. So if you can, again, clarify what it is we're voting on right now.
You're voting tonight on giving us the ability to enter into a contract with a construction company to build the building department spaces in the annex next door. You have already approved, and we've entered into a lease agreement with Crema.
Mm-hmm.
Crema, their work is dependent upon our work in the building department, where it's part of our contractual requirement to stub out electrical, plumbing, mechanical. So Crema cannot get their work done until we do our work. So we've entered into negotiations with this contractor for a very specific term so that their work should be done by December. And we've met with Crema to try to coordinate efforts so they can get started as soon as possible as well.
Got it. Okay, questions from the commission? Please go ahead.
Yes. So for me, I think the timing and the idea of moving the library over is an excellent idea. What I would like to know is the space in our current library. How does that space compare to the space that the building department would take up in Tony Roma's?
I just want to, and I think that's a good question. I just want to be careful that we're not adding on to this discussion something that's not in the agenda and that not give the opportunity for the public to give input. But I agree with you. It's a good question. I just want to get clarification from the city attorney.
Well, it is related. It's just you've got a lot of issues going on because you've already approved that the building department's going to be there and that Crema's going to be there.
Right.
Designs have already started. The architects have already started. Crema's ready to go, but they're waiting for us. If there's any delay, I'm concerned about breach of our lease agreement with Crema because they're intending to proceed on their timelines. They've got their architects working. The design of the building would be completely different in this case. So you'd be starting from day one with regards to design with your architects, and then you'd have to get agreement for Crema. You have to get agreement we'd have to get leases in place with the library system that they'd be willing to move and who's going to pay for them to move and do all that. So all that would have to be in place beforehand. So you're talking about a lot of time before we could even start doing any work on that building, which to me is going to be very difficult with Crema and could cause a breach of that agreement.
Okay.
I just want to give everyone a chance
Yeah.
first.
But I need
If you could
a
just finish and then
for
we'll,
that.
Yes,
I
so,
just want to give them
yeah,
a chance first.
I would
Go
just
ahead.
like to finish with my thought. So, we've had a lot of buildings built in the city that have a lot of construction errors. I'm just looking to make sure we don't make another error here and take advantage of the opportunity with the library lease being the way it is to, and I believe that for security reasons and all, that it suits the city better to have the building department in the same building where the library is now.
And
I'd just like to verify the size of the space. If someone has an answer to that. And Susan, I would like to welcome you and thank you for coming back to our commission meetings.
Wait, Commissioner Stevenson, just let them go first so that
But I
everyone.
need to clarify that so they can have
Yes.
All right,
more
go ahead.
So if
information.
anyone has that
Okay,
answer.
about the space is basically the same. Actually, the library is bigger, so
Okay.
our building department will be more comfortable. But about Crema, just remember that we pay $100,000 to a broker. I still don't know who was the broker. For them to decide, the broker, that the restaurant, we should give it to Crema. So it was not a bidding process. It was not in the Manstar. We pay our fee of $50,000. We pay their fee of $50,000 for a broker to come and say, put their Crema, period. And then it came to us after the fact. So I don't think the lease with Crema, or that we are babysitting Crema and we want to make them feel comfortable when we invite them to be here. So they should be a little bit maybe grateful of the opportunity that we are giving. So I don't think Crema is the issue here.
All right.
And if I just may,
Please.
just from a legal standpoint, though, you've already entered into an agreement with them, and having worked with them, and I can't predict what they're going to do, but if you tell them that, because this will cause a significant delay, they walk away.
Okay.
And you may be in breach of your lease
All right.
agreement.
Let's give everyone.
That's going to
an
cost a
opportunity.
lot of money.
All right, Commissioner Viscara?
Okay, so this is a lot of information. I wish I would have gotten this sooner. This is like a summary, basically. Suffolk was the Aquilina people who were renting an otherwise unrentable space. So I don't take issue with extending their leases or anything like that, because they were working in like a shell, right? They just put up their desks, and so I don't take issue with that. I recall, I don't know what numbers you have, but I recall years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, looking into like moving the library over to when Tony Roma's initially became vacant and Crema was not part of it. And if I recall that it was not, that it would be a smaller library, that the square footage there, but again, I don't have that in front of me, but working from memory, I recall that the space would not accommodate the library the same way, and if now we're not working with Crema, it would be a smaller library. I think under different circumstances, I would consider it, because it's kind of nice to have all the city stuff together, and if we could accommodate the library, it's something we thought about before, but the lease wasn't up, the timing was different. But I recall that it wasn't gonna be a good outcome, so.
Maybe they could put a
But I just
second
don't
floor.
have those details, and I wasn't expecting this
Yeah.
conversation. So I think in concept it's nice, but I don't think it'll play out. And also, the building department monies, we can, I guess, get those details at some other time. Again, I was not ready for that. But we can only use them in so many, there's very particular ways in which we can use those monies. And that's what was great about putting the building department in its own space, because that was one of the permitted, the allowed ways. But that's like all I can muster out of like my memory right now. I'm okay proceeding with as we are.
Vice Mayor?
So I have a question. So let's say we do put the building department where the library is right now, and let's say that the library does want to move to where Tony Roma's is, the build out, right? Would our building department be required to pay rent if they stay in this building, in the first floor?
It's not rent. There's certain costs associated with them being here that would be payable from building, but it wouldn't necessarily be rent.
What about the Tony Roma's building?
Same thing.
Same
The
thing.
cost of,
Okay.
the cost of renovating the space that's dealing with the building department, not the part that's Crema's, but that's apportioned. That'll
Whatever
be,
you want to call it, rent or credits or whatever.
right, so there's some formulaic ways of coming up with what the cost is to have the building department there, and that can be paid from the building fund.
From the building.
Correct.
Right, okay. Now, obviously, the space is different. We don't know if the library would want to move. We already have a contract in place with Crema. Now, another thing that I'm thinking, and, you know, having my parent cap on, you know, I'll be safer with the kids being here on the first floor just because we have those double doors, we have the security. A lot of these kids that come from school are just sitting there until their parents come and pick them up. A lot of tutoring is going on there, so, you know, from a parenting and a safety perspective, I prefer this where the library is at this moment. So right now, I think a lot of the wheels have been set in motion. I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea, but then there's a lot of question marks right now. Maybe 6 months before or a year before, we could have given this more thought and more analysis. But yeah, I mean, I always wanted an independent building department, you know, as opposed to renting that out as a 100% restaurant space or commercial space. But yeah, I'm okay with proceeding forward. And, you know, these are things that I think right now a lot of things have been set in motion. So too many question marks if we start putting the brakes on this at this time. And then again, the library, I personally prefer it to be here on the first floor, just for the safety of the kids, to be honest with you.
Well, you'd have
Okay.
a security issue at either place, you'd have a security
Wait,
issue.
hold on.
No,
We're
but
not gonna
here
go.
you have a security 24 hours. We have double doors. They have to register. You know, the security guard is always looking at them. Obviously, there'll be security guard there in that building, but then, you know, the kids will be onto the street. Here, they're walking like on the sidewalk. You know, there's a space where they hang out and everything. So I think from a library perspective, the kids being there, I feel better having the library here.
Yeah, but the
Okay.
kids shouldn't, they're not supposed to be there alone either. So.
I
you know,
understand
they
that,
are.
but the reality is that they are.
Well,
Yeah.
and the reality is that we voted for the resolution back in December 2022 to rebid as a restaurant. So this process has been manipulated from the very beginning. If they would say here, if this section wasn't here, I would not vote for this resolution.
No, listen, I had some of the same apprehensions as you, and he sent us some information, the city manager did, regarding the broker. And then from what I understand is, obviously, that's what brokers are supposed to do. They go out, they know the business, they have experience with commercial leases, and then they put it out to the people that they know. So it's not like it was, oh, yeah, I have crema, let me put him in here. You know, I'm sure that this broker, and from what I understand, the information that was passed along to us, is that they put it in the system like there's a commercial space up for lease. It's not like they hand choose.
We don't know that.
No, that's the way these commercial brokers work.
I know, but we don't
Yeah.
know if that's what they did.
They
Listen,
put it
I
in a
just-
database. I think there was thousands of people that
Yeah.
it was exposed to.
Yeah,
It's exposed to many businesses.
Right, I want to make sure that we're very clear that, you know, we're voting on this one item. So for us, we're not voting to rescind the Crema contract.
No.
We're not voting on the
No.
library. We're not voting any of these things. So that, you know, because I think we need to just call a vote and move on, and then potentially.
Well, but again, $4 million to renovate an inside small space. The whole budget of the city of El Portal is $4.8 million. The whole budget for the building department, code enforcement, police, finance, $4.8 million. So people get creative with the money when they don't have it. We are wasting the money. This is a disgrace. This is beyond logic. I am in disbelief that you guys are okay with this. With wasting $4 million to renovate an inside space, when, again, we've been manipulated from the very beginning. Since July 2022, we've been saying that it's going to be a restaurant. Then, I agree with renting to somebody else in that moment. But this was done totally on purpose. It's an embarrassment if we continue allowing this to happen. Like I said, I voted for rejecting the proposal without looking at the proposal. I didn't know at that moment that we have a company who wanted to invest $3.5 million there because they knew they were going to make money. This was not presented to us. I didn't know that there was a company that they were thinking to pay us $500,000 for that location every year. So all this information was not presented to us. I did trust the staff when they said to me, reject the proposal because we are going to bring you back another proposal for another restaurant. So why the resolution is not being honored, what we voted, the direction that we did to the staff was to re-advertise. It's very clear here in yellow, very big. So we are picking and choosing the resolutions and the contracts that we are honoring, and at the same time, you're just wasting the money.
Okay, I just, for clarification, because that's a lot of information, I understand. But I'd like to get clarification from staff, because I want to make sure that, that what we're discussing is factual. So, Mr. City Manager, the attorney, and Deputy City Manager, I just want to get clarification. The resolutions that were passed by this body, maybe not everybody here, this was before me, have those resolutions been kept to the letter of the resolution? Has the staff done anything that would be considered, not following the direction of the commission? Has there, with the examples that were given by Commissioner Stuyvesant?
No.
And have you had an opportunity to review all of those items?
We've reviewed them in the past.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And again, I'm sorry to continue with the same thing, but in the budget that I voted against, by the way, this was one of the reasons that you guys all voted for, it said that we needed $2 million to renovate that space, knowing that was pure BS, because now you are asking for $2 more million. So you put a little bit first, a little bit more, and at the end it's going to be $2 more million, so it's going to be $6 million for a space that was supposed to make us money. So again, we are doing this against our residents, against our people. It's very, very simple math. And about the resolution.
And we lost
and about-
$800,000 on.
Yeah, and
Tony
about the
Roma's
resolution,
originally.
in December 2022, we gave the direction to bring us another lease for a restaurant for the whole space. So it is in here, okay? I'm not making it up, so you guys can look for it. And it was not honored, this resolution. So
All right,
again,
I'm going to
I have one question.
1 second, please, because we need to move on. I think we need to take a vote on this, and I think that a lot of what you're saying needs to be looked into, because those are very serious allegations, and we need to make sure that everyone in this body and everyone that's watching, and that we're all on the same page. And so I agree that we should look into it. However, I think we do need to vote.
well, I make a
And-
motion to
well,
defer the item.
Yes, I would defer it as well, because we already have commissioners
right.
that have said that they haven't had enough time
All
to
right, I
absorb this
understand.
information.
Commissioner Stuyvesant made a motion, but you're seconding
I
them?
would second it.
Okay, Mauricio?
We'll take a roll call.
Yes,
There you
please.
go. Okay, 1 second.
And I do have one other question.
We're on the,
Well,
we're voting.
I
We're
have one
voting.
other
1 second,
question that
please. We're-
pertains
Okay.
to the vote.
Commissioner
There's a vote on the table.
Joseph.
I vote to defer. Don't want to have any
Vice Mayor Lama.
misconception.
I vote to defer to April. Would like to review this information. Granted that this would not put us in a difficult position with the contract we already have in place. Could a month, could we wiggle in a month?
You can try, but again, I can't answer that question. I mean, it's at risk.
Okay, so please.
It's at risk. So,
It's at
okay.
risk.
So,
And to the extent that you had a resolution, and just let me make a comment on this.
yeah,
I'd like to verify that it's at risk.
You have a resolution in 22 that said, go out and rebid.
we did bid. I know that.
Right. But at some point, this commission, this body, whether it be all the members here or the previous members, made a decision that no, we're going to go proceed in this fashion, which essentially overrides that resolution. The commission decided to take another course of action. So you yourselves are not bound. So if you pass a resolution 2 years ago that said we want A, B, and C, nothing stops you from saying, you know what, We don't want A, B, and C. We want B only. And that's what you all did. And that's the only, thing I'll say on that. As to the contract that we have with Crema, again, I can't tell you what their reaction's going to be with any delays. 1 month may not be significant. I don't know, but time, time is money, and I don't know to what extent that's going to cut our progress with regards to costs and everything else.
Then I vote no to the deferment then.
Okay.
Commissioner Viscara.
I'm also a no. I think, I'll give Commissioner Stuyvesant this. That was an uncomfortable process. I remember that meeting when we were asked to reject the bids, when that was the recommendation, and there were vendors here, and this has not been our most graceful process, because it hasn't. But there's been a lot of changes along the way also. Originally it was just gonna be a restaurant, then we decided then the bids that came in, I remember the parking was an issue, because then we closed the garage for the police department, and a lot of things affected the bidders and the bidding process. And we're also looking for a particular kind of restaurant, and not all the people wanting to, I don't remember exactly, but I remember that maybe they weren't, it wasn't the kind of place that we were looking for, like Crema is, or some of the other places.
We don't know how many, we don't know how many
Hold on,
issues
wait a second.
were
Anyway,
manipulated
We're
as
getting
well.
into a discussion. Let's have a vote.
I grant that this was not a smooth process, but I think the ship has sailed, and
And how long
I'm
has
a
the city
no.
known
I'm just
that-
talking,
sorry.
Jerry. I'm a no on the deferment, and I'm not gonna answer any questions.
All right, so how long has the city
Okay.
known that the library lease has been up for renewal?
Mayor, we're
Because
in the middle
we
of a
weren't
vote.
made
We
aware.
need to take a
We're
vote.
voting.
We weren't
Let me
made
finish.
aware of that.
Mayor Svechin.
Okay. I am going to do something that you probably don't imagine. I'm going to vote to defer. And the reason for that being is that I think that this is a very serious conversation. We've made some serious statements on the record, and I want to make sure that the public and this entire commission feels 100% confident with the steps that we're going forward, and that we get clarification on every single thing, because this is a lot of information. It concerns me that we would risk a contract. However, it concerns me more when we have almost half of our commission not trusting the process. So with that, I vote to defer as well.
Okay.
Okay.
The motion,
May I say something too, after?
It's,
the motion to defer is approved 3-2.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so just wanted to make it clear and for the record that I was always opposed to having that space dedicated 100% to a restaurant. So I always wanted the building department there, and that's been my stance since the beginning, since inception. We eventually had the conversation where we could split it, along the way, and that's where we are today, okay? So I just wanted to make that clear, that I was always opposed to having that space be 100% a restaurant, just from the experiences we had with previous leases with Tony Roma's and other places we've leased out. So I think that what we are proposing now, that we have the building department there and a space of that building dedicated to Crema, I think it's a good solution. But regardless, so.
Okay, so
okay.
for the next agenda, if we can please, based on all that you've heard, if we can please get absolute clarification on what Commissioner Stewart said. And I want to move on because we're getting into a discussion about something. Please, go ahead, and then let's move
I also wanted to do a
on.
clarification. The only reason I voted to reject the proposals was because we were told that they were going to bring us back the same concept. It was renting the whole space. So that's what we voted and what passed. And I agree with you. Maybe we don't have the parking spaces, et cetera, to make it a whole restaurant, and that's okay. So we can have hybrid restaurant and something else, okay? So and right now, just remember, we are building a trailer system on the north side of this building, also for the building department. So again, we are against the trend in the whole country. Instead of decreasing government, we are increasing government, more bureaucracy, and just wasting the money, because sadly we have it.
Okay, thank you. All right, next
Yes.
item, please.
9F is a resolution providing the city manager with the authority to negotiate and execute an agreement with Garland DVS to replace the roof at Government Center.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the commission, we were scheduling to replace different sections of the roof for the government center next door. As part of that replacement, we were going to put in a drone landing space for the police department. So it was determined that, a best practice, the best way to do this would be to do it in conjunction with that drone landing space and replace all the sections of the roof. There's actually 4 separate sections of the government center roof. So this gives me the ability to enter into an agreement with this company to replace the entire roof at the government center.
Thank you. Mr. City Clerk, do we have any public speakers?
No, ma'am.
All right, any questions from the commission?
No.
I'll take a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item, please.
9G is a resolution appointing a delegate to the Miami-Dade League of Cities.
Okay. This is me. So this is something that we do on an annual basis. We usually do a little bit of a change, and I think a year or two ago, I had asked Commissioner Viscara if she was willing to take this on, and she's indicated that time she wasn't ready. So I'm proposing, if she is ready, to make her the delegate and then make Commissioner Stuyvesant the alternate.
I'll accept, thank you.
Yes? All right, so I'll take a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 9I.
9H is a resolution expressing
Okay.
support for Florida Senate Bill 50 and House Bill 371 relating to nature-based methods for improving coastal resilience.
Commissioner Viscara?
So, that's me.
Oh, I just realized, I'm so sorry. Did we have any public speakers for 9G?
We did
I'm
not.
sorry.
No? Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Viscara.
That's okay. So I spoke about this briefly in the Tuesday meeting and in the 3 o'clock meeting. These bills are to require the Florida Flood Hub and Applied Research and Innovation to develop design guidelines and standards for green and gray infrastructure. I looked up gray infrastructure. I knew what green was, which, Jerry, you'll be happy to know. It includes permeable concrete and things, okay? The gray infrastructure has a lot more to do with like stormwater.
Mm-hmm.
And the green, obviously, is also plants and such.
Right.
While directing the Department of Environmental Protection to adopt rules promoting coastal protection through nature-based solutions. So, coastal resiliency was one of our legislative priorities. This bill has flown. It's already been approved unanimously through all its committees in the Senate and on the floor, and it already has approval in one of the House committees. So we're expecting this one to, it's nice to have something to support, because most of the time we're on defense and fighting against. So that's the resolution to support these bills.
Mr.
Actually,
City,
if
wait,
I can just add.
No, wait a second. Do we have
this,
any, wait.
okay.
No, ma'am. We don't have
Okay.
a public speech.
Do you have a question?
So I'd just like to add also that this, the nature-based methods also includes printer-based printed concrete seawalls.
So that's a good thing.
Yes, that's a good thing.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Take a motion, please.
Yeah, I would like to co-sponsor your resolution.
Okay.
There we
Yeah,
go.
and I make the motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay,
Aye.
next item, please.
9I is a resolution expressing support for Florida Senate Bill 440 relating to gender identity employment practices.
Okay, this is one is moving very slowly, and I think it's being portrayed in a different way. I'm gonna read my notes. This will make it unlawful employment practice for a public employer, not a private, to require as a condition of employment any training, instruction, or other activity on sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. So this was brought to me by a Washington, D.C. group that they're trying to remove DEI from government. not from private practices. Like I said, it's moving very slow, but I would like to support this bill. Us to support the bill.
Okay,
So-
wait,
Anti-DEI.
Mr. City Clerk?
No, ma'am, no
Okay,
comments.
any comments from the commission or questions?
Yeah, no, I oppose this precisely for the same language, because maybe if you're, you know, a little town in the Panhandle, this doesn't affect you, but if you're Miami Beach, or if you're another city where maybe these issues are more common in your government, those cities should be able to provide the training that they feel is necessary for their workforce. I think this is a home rule issue, and for us as a city, it's unnecessary. This is not an issue that we have, it's not policies that we have, and should we need them, we should be able to employ them. So, I'm a no.
Okay, anyone else?
I would like to say that it happens to be that this commission is not recommending any DEI, boards or offices, but there could be another commission one day that does. So in that regard, I do support this bill.
Yeah, but they can reverse it anyways.
They can reverse it, and if they do recommend it, maybe at that time, maybe it's needed. Right now, we don't need it. It's not a concern for us.
Yeah, but it make it mandatory.
Wait,
So
let's,
you're not
just hold
making
on,
it
Commissioner
mandatory.
Stevenson, let everyone have a
You're making
chance.
it mandatory not to, right, if this bill goes through. And what home rule tells us, which is again, a priority that we all adopted, what home rule tells us is that each municipality should be in the position to make the policies that best suits its situation. So we're okay, but maybe, I'm using Miami Beach as an example, I can't think of, is it not Wynwood, the one in Broward? Wilton Manors, right. Maybe in Wilton Manors it's different. Maybe they would need that training. And maybe that would benefit that community. But something like this would not allow them to. So who are we to tell Wilton Manors what to do, right? And it's not us, I know, it's the bill. But it's also moving slowly. But for that, just on a home rule principle, I'm a no.
Just for clarification before I give you the floor, Vice Mayor, currently in our policies, in our HR policies, trainings, handbooks, do we have any of these questions as part of the hiring process? Do we include, does the word pronoun appear anywhere that we know of?
No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But I spoke to it, John. I asked.
Okay,
The answer is no.
okay. That's correct. All right, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, I believe myself to be very conservative, but I'm also a libertarian, so the way I see this is that it's about individual rights, regardless of majority rule, and this goes both ways, right? Whether it's government trying to impose something on people, or whether it is a movement or some sort of organization that's trying to impose something on people or telling them how to think. So for me, this is about personal choice, right? As long as it is not hurting anybody, okay? And I have some issues with this because it does take away from, let's say there's a city in Florida that's very liberal, and they do decide to implement some of these policies because that's what their electorate has decided. Why are we taking away that right from them? We have decided not to implement those. It's our choice, right? So that's the way I see this, right? Also, I read the bill, and it's kind of punitive in spirit, so it's not something where you're trying to work with the government and individual rights and everything where you give people a choice. And to give you an example, specific examples, what happens to a city employee that on their LinkedIn, they put the pronouns they, them, they or them, right? Are they gonna get punished because of that? Because they're using their city logo in their LinkedIn, and then they're putting the pronouns that perhaps the state doesn't like. So there's a lot of question marks to this. I do not feel comfortable with supporting something like this. just because I think it's about personal choice, and it's about respect of, you know, what that person wants to call themselves. Also, I think that we're talking about adult environments where there's no children exposed to, let's say there's some DEI issues, obviously, you know, that could be exposed to children. So at the end of the day, I think it falls on home rule. And yeah, I don't like anybody telling me, whether it's government, whether it's a group or a movement, telling me what to do and how to think. And I think it's about personal choice. And also that bill, like I said before, you know, what about if that person in their resume wants to use their pronouns? I mean, it's their choice. I don't want anybody getting punished or losing their job because they want to use certain pronouns, you know?
If I may.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think we are very confused about the bill, because the point is also about money. This is like
The point is about what?
money. That
Okay.
because it's about not requiring that we have to hire a DI company to give us training. And I am all for freedom. So you can call yourself whatever you want. You can paint yourself
Yeah.
the way you want. All about freedom. Me too. You know, and especially being here in Miami, in Florida, we have a lot of tolerance here in Sunny Isles, in South Florida in general. I think we're an amazing community where everybody's accepted the way they are. This is specifically about requiring training for you to be hired, that you have to go through the process, or maybe something that make you feel uncomfortable. So that's the spirit of the bill. And this one reminds me a little bit about the Don't Say Gay bill, that was never about saying gay in the bill, and that's the way the media was talking
understand.
about it.
Yeah.
This is about, again, not putting public resources, hiring these companies that they do DEI training for money. You know, they're not even believing it. They're increasing, and anyway, this already passed at the federal level. So it was just to supporting to the local level as well, you know?
No,
So,
I understand.
Wait, hold on,
but-
one at a time.
Okay, go ahead.
Vice Mayor, let her finish.
yeah, so it is not about, you can put in your LinkedIn, in your Facebook, Instagram, whatever. If you want to be with a tutu, do whatever you want to be. And nobody cares, you know? Again, this is about not using public resources and mandating people that they might feel uncomfortable getting that training. That's about it.
Okay, so I don't believe that we're doing that now, or that we have ever had any. That the only training that I believe we've had is autism training, anything specific to anything out of the norm, rather. Okay, did you want to add to that? 'Cause I want to move
Yeah, I mean, regarding
move
the
on and take
trainings,
a vote.
I don't believe the government should be imposing any trainings. It should be an optional training if you want to have DI training or not. But if there's a city, you know, with a constituency that wants to have that in their city, it is their taxpayer money. So, you know, if they vote to have that, they should have that choice, you know? So, you know, I might not agree with it, but who am I to say whether that city wants to do it, yes or not? I mean, we might have some very liberal cities that want to do that. Why am I going to impose my will on them? I don't want anybody else imposing my will on me. If we don't want to have it here, we don't have it here.
All right,
It's all about that. Yeah.
Commissioner Viscar,
Add
let's
something,
finish
right.
with you and let's take a vote,
Okay.
please.
No, because I'm not confused. Okay, I'm not confused. It says, right, this is the language that I take issue with. It says, that if this bill were to become a law, right, this would be the law. It would say, it is an unlawful employment practice for the state or a county or a municipality, which would be us, or a special district like the school board, okay, or other political subdivisions to require as a condition of employment any training, et cetera. So it would take away that choice from the municipalities who feel it's necessary. If you're a municipality that happens to hire, a lot of people with multiple pronouns, and that's an issue in your city, and they feel that they need to provide that training, who are we to tell them not to? I'm not confused about what this says. That's what this says. So, you know, what Vice Mayor Lama said, it's like there's a, what did you, so I don't know what you said, something about the spirit is.
It's a punitive.
Punitive. Well,
Punitive,
what
yeah.
to me, my word was exclusive, right? Which is the opposite of inclusive. This is an anti-inclusive language, which I found I keep a stack of these on my desk, our city values: integrity, safety, innovation, quality, sustainability, and inclusivity. This goes against our city values, and it goes against home rule.
All right, I think it's pretty clear that we're ready to take a vote.
Yeah, I'm a no.
All right, so Mauricio, let's do a roll call.
Well, is there a motion?
Oh, yes, please, sorry. Oh, we've been talking, thank you.
I'll
Second,
second it.
okay.
Okay. Commissioner Joseph,
I vote yes.
Vice Mayor Lama,
No.
Commissioner Stuyvesant,
Yes.
Commissioner Viscara,
Nope.
Mayor Svechen.
No.
The ordinance fails 3-2. 2-3,
Resolution.
excuse me.
Okay, next item, please.
9J is a resolution expressing support for Florida Senate Bill 1018 relating to homestead exemptions.
Okay, so.
You have energy left?
Yeah, yeah. So, our property taxes, they go up every year, even though our bank account or the money is not going up. It's just that they inflate the value, and we have to pay according to the new value. So, what they are looking to do, and I know there are different bills about the homestead exception, is just to increase the exemption and also to make it that it's gonna go with the value of the inflation. So if the value of the home goes up, also the homestead exception should go up as well. So there is a lot of noise right now in Tallahassee about property taxes, homestead exemptions, etc. So I think this is kind of a safe way to say that we are okay just reducing the assessed value of the homes by just increasing $25,000 in the homestead exemption. Instead of going a little bit more, there are other ones that are more aggressive, other bills. So I think I feel very comfortable with this one. Just increasing the homestead exemption is going to help, especially the seniors, the people. Remember, just to get the exemption, it has to be your residence, where you live. And other requirements, you have to be a citizen or a permanent resident, etc. I think this is a safe bill.
For me, I have to agree. I think that the other bills where they're considering doing away with the property tax altogether would harm cities irreparably. And I believe this bill alone assists homeowners and condo owners, and this is the more logical bill.
Yeah, I agree with it. I mean, I think that the flip side of this is that when you have smaller cities, like for instance, Biscayne Park, that have a very low, I think what they're gonna do is that the homestead is gonna increase, but they're gonna have to make up for it, and I think they're gonna increase their millage rate. I have a feeling because some of these cities are small, but hopefully, this will give some respite to people that, would be benefiting for pocketing $600-700 extra a year from saving in their property taxes. So yeah, I do support the bill. I believe that home valuations are going up, and then, you have increase in taxes, especially for South Florida. I think that South Florida cities are mostly okay, for the exception of Biscayne Park and some other cities, smaller cities. Yeah, so, but yeah, I support it. I mean, obviously there's some, negatives to this, I think for smaller cities, but I think they're gonna make it up by increasing their millage rate. I mean, Biscayne Park already has the highest millage rate, I think. Not too, yeah, right? You're at 10% almost, right? No, I think Biscayne Park's got the highest millage rate, yeah. They're at almost 10%, the max, yeah, max allowed. But regardless, yeah, I'll support it, yeah. I think the benefits outweigh any of the negatives for smaller cities, yeah.
Did everyone get a chance to speak? Are we ready for a motion?
No, I'm, again, because of, like I said in the Tuesday meeting, like, you have to look at it as a fuller conversation, and taxes, anything that reduces the revenue for us is, when, at a time when if other bills go through and they're increasing our liability and we're reducing our revenue, it can be a problem, and we may end up having that millage rate conversation, not the way we've been having it, right? So just keep that in mind. I think in the broader context, it's for us, it probably does make sense, maybe not for the smaller cities. And it's not really moving, so it may not even go through. So, but remember, if it does, we have to remember this when we have our millage conversation.
Okay, we'll take a motion.
Motion.
Need a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Next, last item we have, Commissioner Joseph.
Okay, yes. Okay,
I'm sorry,
so,
Before, let me just read it into the record. 9K is a resolution requesting Florida Department of Transportation to install a flashing crosswalk on 186th Street and Collins Avenue.
Thank you.
yes, perfect. Okay, so I've been advocating for the residents of Golden Gate. We tried unsuccessfully to have a red light in order to allow them to make a left turn and to have a crosswalk at Terracine Avenue and A1A. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough residents that participated, and the motion failed after we had a resolution from Sunny Isles and Golden Beach. So now we're trying to advocate to FDOT because of the severity of and seriousness of the incidents that may occur in people crossing that avenue at Terracine Avenue. On weekends, they cross to go to the beach. We have residents from the towers on the east side crossing over to visit Golden Gate. And so we have people going back and forth at an unsafe intersection that we're asking the commission to allow for a resolution to ask FDOT to consider a lighted push-button crosswalk.
Mauricio, do we have public speakers?
No, ma'am. Oh, excuse
I
me. I'm
thought-
so sorry. Yes, we do. Sorry
I
about
saw
that.
that one.
Sorry. Okay. Claire Heskiel.
Hi, please say your name and address for the record.
Hi, so my name is Claire Haskiel. I've been living in Golden Gate for over 20 years. I raised 2 kids here, and I have 6 grandkids. And each time I cross the street to go to the beach, I fear there's going to be an accident. I came to the city several times without success. We are not asking for a red light to stop the traffic, but just, a sign on the street, a crosswalk, with flashlights that don't stop the traffic continuously, just, to stop the car to be able to cross, We are 90 houses in this community with lots of kids, families, elderlies, and each time it's upsetting to see kids by themselves crossing the street going to the beach. We have 2 passages on both sides of the regalia to go to the public beach, but no crosswalk. So it's really a safety hazard, and we've been fighting for this. I've been fighting for this for 20 years, but without any success. So I love my city, and I would like to feel safe when I cross the street or when I see people from the community with beach carts, beach chairs, crossing and running between cars, not to be run over. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Nadia Brigadier.
Hi, Nadia. Just your name and address for the record, please.
Nadia Brigadier. I live in Golden Gate also at 3935 194th Trail. I lived in that owned in that community already for a few years, and I lived in a different apartment in Sunny Isles already for many years. And it is absolutely necessary to have a crosswalk there. It is a family community. It's not a building, it's houses, like she said, 96 houses. I have 3 children. Most of the houses have multiple children, all the way up to 5 or 6 children in those homes. And they do see their friends, other buildings, other homes in Golden Beach. And, you know, they want that freedom, but we want safety. And they go to the beach, or they have their carts, or they have their surfboards, or whatever they carry. And it's all day in and out. It's a very, very busy road. The community used to be quieter, but it's not. Sunny Isles was people that came and go, and now people live in Sunny Isles all the time. So the amount of cars has dramatically increased. The new buildings coming up will only bring even more cars that are coming, especially specifically close to that area because of St. Regis and everything that's coming up, and that's a very large building. So it's only going to get busier. Of course, a red light would be the ultimate, but at least a crosswalk for safety, where, especially with the lights flashing or at night. So we respectfully ask that you understand that it's a very serious problem. We don't want someone to get hurt and then solve it. We see that it's a very big need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cohen?
Hi, Joy. Your name and address for the record, Joy.
My name is Joy Cohen. Address is 4003 194th Trail, Sunny Isles Beach, Florida 331.
Let me just stop you for a second. Mauricio,
Yes, I'm trying to, give me 1 second.
we're
I'm
resetting
so
your
sorry.
time.
Yes, give me 1
Oh,
second.
okay.
Because you were... You can just keep going. Just go
I
ahead.
can go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So again, my name is Joy Cohen, and I'm a resident of Golden Gate Estates for over 13 years. I'm here today to discuss my concerns regarding the hazardous situation due to a lack of pedestrian crossing on Collins and Terracina Avenue. The community has significantly grown in the last few years, and many people in my community are trying to access the public beach entrance, as well as accessing the other buildings across Collins Avenue. I have witnessed children, adolescents, adults, nannies with baby carriages, surfers, crossing Collins Avenue in an unsafe manner. Sunny Isles is a highly dense populated city, and numbers of cars have increased. I believe that the chances for injury and or even fatality is increased due to these unsafe conditions. As a community resident and parent, I would like to see safer conditions in the community. We are asking the city to pass a resolution as the first step in obtaining a pedestrian crosswalk for Collins Avenue. And I did include pictures that we have taken of people randomly crossing. I don't know if you can all see those pictures, just as evidence.
We believe you.
Huh?
We believe you. We don't see the
Okay.
pictures, but we believe you.
And I have also included signatures of all the residents that couldn't make it tonight because of after-school activities or late meetings. But we have many signatures of the residents who have signed for this. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Mauricio?
No other speakers for this.
Okay. Comments or questions from the commission? Commissioner Viscara?
Anyone like to see this?
It's okay.
Yes,
I've seen.
Yeah, also I have it here if you wanted to look at it.
Oh,
It was because she emailed me before, but so if you
Okay.
wanted to look at
Yes.
this.
Good.
So, what was I gonna say? Okay, so I spoke to Joy, and I've communicated with you, and and thank you to your companions. As you know, Collins is not our road, so you're taking the proper steps, you got your signatures, and then, I'll certainly support the resolution, and is this, what is this?
She has.
Oh, okay. So, you want to see them for the record? Okay. And I think it's wonderful that you've taken the initiative and come here. I know it's not an easy thing for everybody, and I wish you luck. But know that FDOT is not always easy, but I know Jerry likes to call them and push them.
Yes.
So
I will be,
hopefully we'll
I'll
have
be
success.
exerting my best efforts.
I know you like to call them.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I totally support this. Safety is paramount. And by the way, I called you back, Joy. Sorry, when you called me, I was out sick, really sick. So I called you back a couple of days ago. But yeah, I do support this. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of 174th Street and Collins when I see, you know, the families, the kids trying to go to the beach, you know, to the park and the beach access. And it just makes me nervous to see people crossing and the cars whizzing by. So yeah, a light will be a delight there. Safety first.
Great. Commissioner Stewart?
Yeah, 100% support the resolution. Like Vice Mayor said, it's about safety. I also am mom, and we seen the fatalities. I'm gonna give you my card because I didn't get your email. I don't know if you sent it to me, so, or maybe you had the wrong email. So I would like to get a copy, so I can also start the communication. And yeah, Jerry, whatever you need help to make it happen, let's do it.
Yes,
Okay?
we will
So-
absolutely make it happen.
Yeah, I'm supportive of this as well. I'd like to actually add to this, and so that it's not just the flashing crosswalk, so they look at any possible other options, because I don't want to limit it to the flashing crosswalks, because in the past those have sometimes been considered even more dangerous, because people press them and they start to walk and the cars
Don't stop.
don't
Right.
stop.
Exactly.
So
Well-
they should have additional methods. So I don't want to limit it to the flashing. So if you're not opposed to it, I'd like to change it to say all and any possible methods that they can
Yes.
look into.
Well, we've actually, the absurdity of it is that there should have been a red light that in
Well,
order to
let's
allow
start with this resolution
left
and
turn.
yeah, sure.
I mean, we've had a previous resolution. Unfortunately, the numbers that FDOT is looking for are really unrealistic according to the need for a
Right.
light there.
Well, I think that now that, you've all come out, which again, appreciate that you stayed until the end. We've had later meetings, so you got lucky. And now I think that you realize how much cooperation and participation from that small community is needed in order to, get the data that is required to get what you need. And you have our entire full support. So,
I make a motion with your amendment
great.
to broad it, okay, to everything possible.
Could you restate the amendment?
So the amendment would be, so right here it says install flashing crosswalk, and it would to include
Any measure.
any sort of device or mechanism that would provide
Safety.
for safe
Safe
crossing,
crossing,
for
safe
safe crossing from the west to the east side.
And back again.
No, just one way. I'll take,
And could we add, and I don't know if this is appropriate, but the signatures and the photos, could we add that as an exhibit to the resolution?
sure.
Sure.
Or is that just part of the communications we just added? Okay. Well, when we do communicate with FDOT, obviously,
Well-
we'd like to share that, right?
Yes. As
But
soon
okay,
as-
so leave it alone.
All right.
I'll
need a-
second the
As soon as I have
motion.
the resolution,
Second?
I'll be sending it over to Stacy.
All right.
a
all in
nice phone
favor-
call.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Now we're Citizens Forum. Do we have any public speakers?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Vitali Falkovich.
Hi, Vitaly. I know you're a regular, but your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, the citizens of Sunny House. My name is Vitaly Palkovich, 9280 Southwest 167th Terrace, Palmetto Bay, South Florida. As being a frequent visitor here, looks like I'm almost coming here 4 times a week. I spend more time in Sunny House than I spend in Palmetto Bay. One of the things that was brought up today is that we think was said, I think, by the commissioner that we're the best. You guys are the best. As ability to travel around South Florida and other municipalities, you guys, if you're sitting in that chair, you are the best. Otherwise, the citizen would not vote for you. As coming as a visitor, the frequent visitor, you got one of the best police departments, I'd have to say, in Florida, not just South Florida, but Florida. Not only that, is that ability what you guys accomplish as coming in here and watching and looking at the agenda. You guys have accomplished amazing things as a commissioner, as a mayor, with that in this administration. As I came in before, I think this is one of the best administrations that I've seen so far in Sunny Isles Beach, and I'm glad to be frequent visitors in this area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any public speakers?
Yes, Albert Haddam.
This has to be about the Peter.
Hi. I know you've been here before, but your name and address for the record, please.
The bike issue was passed already. Got it.
Oh,
So my name is Albert Haddam. I live at 174th Street in Winston Towers, and I guess I'm going to continue with tonight's theme of public safety. It concerns the pedestrian crossing bridge going from North Bay Boulevard to Winston Boulevard. It is a concern that the amount of people that use that come over that bridge with all these motorized scooters and bikes and roller skates at 5, 10, 15 miles an hour with a total disregard for the roadway in front of them. What happened to me the other night is I came to a stop sign. It was late at night. Thank God, at the corner of my eye, a young person came flying across the road with no regard, and thank God I didn't step on the gas pedal, or God forbid something would have happened. So I'm here to ask you to do something to slow down that traffic coming over the bridge. You have a stop sign there, which is totally useless. You could have 5 stop signs there. It's not going to matter. On the other side, there is a light that warns drivers of people coming over the bridge. On this side, there is nothing. So my suggestion, and I hope it's an easy fix, because it doesn't involve anybody, I think, hopefully, but the city of Sunny Isles to do something, is possibly speed bumps, lights, precautionary signs to slow down the traffic. As I was coming here today to this meeting, same thing happened. Broad daylight, 2 people on motorized scooters, must have been doing 10 to 15 miles an hour, not even thinking about slowing down or stopping, right into the roadway. Now, if a car goes through the stop sign, which they do, and somebody's coming without looking, there will be an accident. And as Mr. Joseph said, it is just an accident waiting to happen. So, hopefully you can do something about it, do something quickly about it. It seems to me it's an easy fix that this commission could do without any major studies, and I'll follow up next month, and hopefully something will be done. But it is a concern, and it has to be addressed, because I believe that something will happen. It has to. It's just law of averages. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stan,
Mauricio?
can we
Final
put
one
speed
is
humps
David
on there,
Virgil.
on the bridge?
hi, David. You know the drill.
Yep. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commission. My name is David Virgil. My address is 17500 North Bay Road. I just want to go back to what was mentioned at the Commission workshop about the holiday light proposal. I noticed in the rendering they had the current monument signs and welcome signs, and from what I understand, the signs will be updated soon, and I'm not sure if the lighting would work on the new signs since they have a slightly different shape. Yeah, that's something I noticed. Another thing I would like to recommend, if all of you could think of questions to ask in the meetings at the Commission workshop that is held on Tuesdays, because in these meetings it looks a little confusing to see all of you have questions that you could have asked staff at the workshops. That's just my opinion. And one more thing, about committees. I'm sure they're important, but anyone could come here to the microphone and speak and advocate for an issue. Nothing is stopping them from speaking here, like what I'm doing right now. And if more people could be informed, they could come to these meetings and wait to the end and speak on whatever issue that they want to speak on, they could do so. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all, Mayor.
Okay, great. With that, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Can I just make a comment?
The meeting's adjourned, so you can say
Okay.
anything that you'd
Well-
like, as long as it's not breaking sunshine.
Yes, so we discussed things at the agenda review, but it's not recorded. It's not visible to residents. So we asked those same questions here so that residents see the answers.
We are not asking all the questions. He goes to them.
Well,
workshop should be here, it should be televised.